everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together we are Kenny and Renny, and this is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after a game that I got to say, got some diehards in here. A lot of people tuning in to watch the game. This, to me, would be akin to checking out the Toronto Blue Jays and the Cleveland Guardians playing baseball on May 4th, 2025, folks. Why? Well, that was the day of the Manitoba Miracle. So if you were watching this Jets game and tuned in intently and ignoring the Toronto Blue Jays come backing their way to the World Series for the first time since 1993, you are a serious diehard. Let me tell you, it's funny. My daughters came and asked me afterwards if they thought that this Jays comeback was as, I don't know if the term was significant, but as big as the Manitoba Miracle. And I'd said, it's not as big a comeback. The fact that you score with 1.6 seconds left, whatever it was, 2 point whatever, but 1.6 on the clock when it was said and done, the fashion in which they did it, the kind of almost impossible nature of it, I would suggest it's going to be pretty hard to find comebacks. I mean, the Tom Brady miracle comeback in the Super Bowl, that's bigger just by the volume of what had to happen for basically the last half of that game to pull off that comeback. But what I did say to them is clearly the magnitude is bigger. That was the Jets getting out of the first round of the playoffs. Now, some of you are going to disagree with this because some of you are going to be diehard Jets fans, and that's your world. That's the biggest your world will get. And you'll still say, no, it's not possible. That's ridiculous. The Toronto Blue Jays just booked their ticket to the championship, a place that the Winnipeg Jets franchise has never been before, a place that the Winnipeg Jets previous franchise had never been before. So, I mean, that has something to do with it. The other part, I would say, that comeback by the Jets, very similar to what we saw, from the Jays, very similar to what we saw from the Jets here, was very much, kind of one of those gutsy kind of comebacks where it's like, stick with your game, do the right things, come up in the biggest moments, and you're going to do that. The one thing I would say is differently, there's no hand of God moments in this game. There's no Ehlers fanning on the puck. There's no Nemestikov bouncing it in off of two pads and into the back of the net. It didn't take divine intervention for the Blue Jays to get past the Seattle Mariners in this game. It just took a team that did not quit. What I'm almost most impressed about with that whole thing is the pitching that happens after the Jays take the lead in that game. I mean, I think it's like 6 straight outs. Wow, that was something to watch, interesting to watch. And I will say this, Sportsnet person, so clearly I'm invested, so take it for what it's worth. But as a guy who's on broadcasts, who's tries to be, pawns himself off as a broadcast professional, my goodness, do those broadcasts look absolutely gorgeous. Someone put up a shot of Vladdy after he was interviewed after the last game. And there was Hazel May asks him a question, and she asks him if he's ready, for the next game. And he's sitting there and he responds, and he's kind of looking at Hazel on the camera, and then the crowd starts going crazy, and he looks up at the crowd, and as he looks up at the crowd, the camera goes and starts cutting to this side of him, so you're seeing what he's looking at, right? He's looking up at this massive crowd full of people, and then the camera starts spinning around him. That's just a cameraman in that moment being like, let's do something really cool here, and it worked. A lot of times camera guys try and do too much. That worked so much in that moment, because part of what makes that so special, as always, as it was with the Manitoba Miracle, is the crowd that's involved with that. So to find that synergy and that interaction between the crowd and the player like that was brilliant camera work. I don't know who that cameraman is. I do know that Maddie, who was my producer in the last game that we just did here against the Nashville Predators on Hockey Night in Canada, Maddie's very good friends with that guy, has worked with him before. These are Sportsnet folks that I'm extremely, extremely proud of, telling the tale of what is happening in Toronto, as you know what Ken's going to do a little bit as soon as he gets here, because my main man Ken was there, folks. That's right. And you know what? You want to talk dedication? You want to talk a guy who loves you? Like, if you ever doubted that Ken Wiebe loves the Kenny and Rennyites out there, the fact that he dropped everything that he was doing in one of the biggest sporting happenings in the history of Toronto and is ready to sit down and talk with you folks, that's something. I hope you feel loved, because you are loved. Who loves you? Kenny loves you. That's how it goes. Renny thinks you're all right. Kenny loves you. That's how it goes. So anyways, I didn't even get to the game, but I will say what that was a very different Jim Pattison Toyota on Region opening drive to this show. Hard to ignore what's happening on out there. Just like it is hard to ignore the value that you would get heading down to see our friends at Jim Pattison Toyota on Region this month. The Get In and Go event is on now. Jim Pattison Toyota on Region. Finance the 2025 Tacoma truck from 5.89% with up to a 1% loyalty rate reduction and a $1,500 accessory credit. But hurry, the offer ends October 31st. Visit Jim Pattison Toyota on Region for a test drive today. And I got to say, those Tacoma trucks are gorgeous. I may have to rethink myself. I was just watching a commercial and I said to my girls, that's a gorgeous truck. Of course, it was a Toyota Tacoma, because Toyotas, they got it going on. They got the Yaris, they got the Toyota Sienna vans, they got everything you need. Go see them down at Jim Pattison Toyota on Region. Okay, that's the time, folks. Time to bring in the man with the best music in the business, who just saw one of the best comebacks in the business, folks. Here comes Kenny. Kenny, I can't believe you made it. Unbelievable. There is a party happening in that city that you're missing out on. I guess you got to get yourself back here and join the real world at some point. I don't know how it happens. Folks at the Toronto Blue Jays, if you knew Kenny's record in the playoffs and the big games that he's been to when Ken goes and checks things out, they would be paying you. They would be putting you on the payroll to put you in there, Kenny. Who knows? Maybe you'll be back for the World Series now that they're heading there. But they want it all. We want it all from you, Ken. Tell us about your experience tonight.
Oh, buddy, incredible. I'm a huge sports guy, big baseball guy, as you know, and yeah, I can't speak for my road record in Minneapolis, but that might have something to do with Barrios getting pulled, but a couple of years back. But yeah, the home record has been pretty good. Nothing to do with me, but certainly enjoyed getting to be there. Incredible scene. I was in the building for the bat flip game. It's hard to say that this was louder because you don't want to get nailed by recency bias. But Sean, the facts are this was the Jays' second Game 7 in franchise history, and they're advancing to just their third World Series in franchise history and the first since 1993. So I think that the Springer homer is at least equal, if not above, the bat flip home run by Bautista. Just an incredible scene the last couple nights, and tensions were high. I mean, in the building, Jays were not getting the bats going against George Kirby. Showed a little bit of life against Wu, but not much. And man, the place was shaking. Honestly, people around you are jumping up and down, going nuts. You could tell the beautiful thing about baseball, Sean, when the crack of the bat happens on the Springer swing, you know it's gone. At first you're thinking, oh, it's at least a sac fly. And Arozarena just keeps kind of going back. And you're like, oh my goodness, it's over the fence. So, still some tension in the ninth, but you talked about the bullpen, man. Chris Gosman coming out on short rest.
Yep.
Bassett, what an effort by Bassett to come out of the bullpen with the clean eighth, and Hoffman, after throwing, I think 33 pitches in game 6, unbelievable job to get it mowed down. Yes, there were a lot of hiccups for Hoffman during the year, some untimely home runs allowed. I think he struck out the side in the 9th, and just incredible stuff. And again, you were talking about the camera work. Incredible job yesterday. Born Ready by Vladdy. That was incredible cinematography there.
Yeah, my goodness.
And today, just, man, like, we talk about sports all the time, and I know there are a lot of people around the country not fired up with Vladdy getting the $500 million extension. Oh man, not worth it. He didn't even have 100 RBIs, but I love the genuine emotion, Sean. Tears in his eyes, but still having the, wherewithal to say 4 more. Like, of course, this is, what he signed. When Tom Verducci asked him, is this what you signed up for? He goes, yes. But then he dropped a 4 more in there, and just awesome stuff. I mean, it's, the reason why we love sports. Blessed to be able to be in the building the last couple nights, and yeah, just special to be able to see it. And I was able to catch the third on the Up Express. So beauty of technology, you can stay plugged in even on a day where you're enjoying another part of the other part of the job. And there's a great one from Jay Bell, his favorite hashtag, when can you work? And I was off today, so I took full advantage. I like to tell people.
Explain the relationship here.
Yes, Jason Bell, former Free Press sports editor and good friend. Love the fact that he stayed up to watch after watching the ball game. He's also a huge Jays fan. The joke always was that when I started at the Free Press, I already started with, I was already taking holidays before I got the job, basically. But the joke is always I try to squeeze as much of the juice out of the lemon as I can. And, this was an example. I worked 13 days in a row, went on the road, and got home and went on the road again to Toronto to do something I really love. So fantastic stuff. I appreciate the shot, and I'm happy to take them. And I said, I'm looking for a billet family here, and game 1 is only on Friday. Last time I checked, it's already Tuesday, but I don't think I'll be staying fully. But we haven't ruled out the World Series completely yet. But it's most likely I'm going to be cheering from home. But we'll see what the next couple of days brings.
Jay Bell, as a former boss, may not like this, but my take is, as a sports writer or a sports reporter of any kind, as long as you are somewhere doing something sports related, it should be considered the job. Like, I should be able to pick up at a moment's notice and be to my bosses like, sorry guys, I'm heading overseas to the World Cricket Finals. You know what I mean? It's just, it's research. Consider it research. I'm rounding out my resume. Before we move on, I wanted to kind of bring this to hockey and what's happening behind the scenes, because you got, like, the other day you saw the Seattle Kraken on Hockey Night in Canada. They're all wearing their Mariners jerseys coming into the game. That killed a bunch of those guys on that team. There was a whole bunch of Toronto and Ontario guys. They were killing them. And you hear about it in the dressing room. I mean, Adam Lowry loves him some Jays, and lots of the guys in the room are diehard Jays fans. Relay the conversation we had of one of hockey's all-time great guys, like great to talk to guys before games. When we spoke with Andrew Brunette before the game and his passion for the Jays, that kind of derailed the hockey meeting for a while. Just like baseball,
sorry about that.
Derailing this hockey show.
Yeah, Andrew Brunette is an Ontario guy, so he's very invested in the Jays season as well. Definitely don't think he was overly thrilled with the decision by John Schneider to bring in Brendan Little. But that's the beauty of it, right? When you're a decision maker, what kind of pressure is on these guys when it comes to those kind of moments. But I'm pretty sure that I'm not sure if Nashville played tonight or not, but you can be sure that Andrew Brunette is pretty thrilled by the proceedings here, and he definitely was watching it. And it's great. I mean, that's, Sean, we talk about this all the time. We try to go behind the curtain. So we know that these guys, Scott O'Neill's a huge Pittsburgh Steelers guy. Brunette loves the Jays, and it's nice to talk about other sports with these kind of high level brains, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of it, because, they don't have to, worry about, saying the wrong thing about their own team. Not that those guys do, but I'm just saying in general, they're looking through the lens of those things as a fan, but also with the experience of having to, make decisions in the moment that get criticized and second guessed and all of those things. So, Andrea Kahuch, quickly, Joe Carter is tops. No dispute here. I just wasn't in the building for that one. That's why I didn't mention the Joe Carter. I mean, that definitely his ball blast off of Mitch Williams is the all-timer for the Jays. But I was only watching that one from home. Wasn't in the dome for that one. But
not only maybe for the Jays, had this conversation, with Joe Piscucci's in here. I think Joe Piscucci
awesome.
is in on this conversation.
He's in for the billet.
Yes. Almost 2 decades ago, I believe I had this conversation in the Global Newsroom. It may have been 2 decades ago with Joe Piscucci and Russ Hobson, where Russ's belief is that Joe Carter's home run is the biggest home run of all time, because I believe it's the only ever walk-off home run to win the World Series. And if that's the case, how do you get a bigger home run than that, to Andrea Kahuch's commentary there? Anyways, we should be moving on. There was one thing, though, if we can relay this to hockey, if we still can.
We got one other one too.
Paul R says,
yes, there you go.
Vladdy wore that Leafs jersey to a Game 7. I thought the Jays might be toast. How ballsy is that? Like, honestly,
tremendous.
How ballsy is it to attach yourself to a symbol that is known for futility when it comes to playoffs, especially in Game 7s, and throw that on and like to invite that? How much do you love that city that you play in? Like, think about this. I know a lot of people out there, they don't like the Leafs and they don't like Toronto and all this kind of stuff, but imagine that happening with like the Bombers and the Jets, or if there was a ball teamer here or something like that. If someone like basically said, no, we're doing this. Yeah. That history that you talk about, and that curse you're talking about, I'm going to strap it to my back. I'm going to break its back in front of everybody here. And he went out, he produced in this game. That was something else. Unreal.
Just quickly, we're going to switch right away, but John Schneider loved, it just said, again, the emotion Vladdy showed afterward with the tears and like just the pure joy. I wish John Schneider had said, start spreading the news, we're going to the World Series. That would have been funny. Yeah. But again, that maybe was a private moment for another time. But yeah, just incredible night. And yeah, Vladdy, I had lunch with Sammy, the scarf, Sean, today. Beautiful lunch with Sammy. We were talking about this. Vladdy's done an incredible job in his embrace of the city. He talks about it all the time, always mentions the fans in those interviews you mentioned with Hazel. And, if there was any doubt, if this was genuine or not, you saw that genuine emotion pour out after that final out was recorded. And it was just beautiful to see.
Well, I'll say this. I'm a very, very proud Canadian, very proud of all of Canada, not just the area that I'm from. Lived in Toronto for a couple of years. World-class city. Toronto is an unbelievable city. So I love the idea of, because just like some of what you see in Winnipeg, right? And the people who say they don't want to come here. Now you've got the guys who don't want to leave. Toronto, you have to think when it comes especially to basketball and when it comes to baseball, has a little bit of that. Sometimes American people don't want to be in Canada. So to see someone come and embrace the city like that, a great city that's deserving of being embraced and getting behind its team like that, really, really great to see. Okay, hey, I'm going to say, Ken, about the only thing that could have looked better tonight than the comeback by the Winnipeg Jets and the comeback by the Toronto Blue Jays would be you and I dressed up in some Vittorio Rossi suits. We're not there, but if we were, maybe we'd give those guys some run for their money, as only Frankie and the boys could do. So if you want to look so good that you could look as good as a comeback sending you to the World Series, you know what to do. Head on down to Vittorio Rossi on Corden Avenue. Walk in, loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you. Ask for Frankie and the boys, and they will do you up right. And let's just do this right now. Ken, give ourselves the Pristine Roofing wake-up call, because this isn't a baseball show. It's a hockey show. So you know what to do here. Time to give our main man, North End Rick, the Pristine Roofing wake-up call at 204-981-6289. He's up. You see him there. If you have any roofing, siding, exterior needs, he's the guy you want down at your place. Hey, you know what? I have a lot of coffee. with Rick. Actually, we were supposed to go. Hey, maybe tomorrow. We were supposed to go early this week, but having been a former roofer who fell off many roofs, North End Rick, not the kind of guy who falls off roofs. Why? He's a professional and he knows his stuff. I like listening to him. I like the pride that he and Pristine take in their work. So you can call Pristine directly as well at 204-237-7663. I admire the heck out of Pristine Roofing and the way they approach the job. If you have roofing, siding, or exterior needs, they're the people you want down at your place. Okay, Ken, what did you take away from what you were able to see from this game?
Yeah, well, certainly able to glean that the Jets' penalty kill continues to roll in a lot of fronts. Connor Hellebuck looks like he's really getting into his groove, Sean. Mark Scheifele, we've been talking about him a lot the last couple of shows based on the milestone activity that has been transpiring. And lo and behold, when the Jets needed a goal in the third period, he's here, he's there, he's everywhere, he's omnipresent. Mark Scheifele delivering another clutch goal for the Winnipeg Jets that they needed after a big save from Hellebuck, and Scheifele and Connor connecting again. So, and also too, Jonathan Toews getting on the board with his first goal in 2.5 years, and first with his hometown team. And Sean, I was listening to that portion on the radio broadcast, and man, what a loud cheer for Toews' goal.
Yeah,
it sounded like a home game, basically. I mean, there was
the
a
True
huge
North
roar.
shout out was pretty loud too. Yeah.
So impressive stuff. I mean, we've been talking about that subject a lot, and we'll be talking about it more. But suddenly there's Toews with that's 4 points in 6 games now. So that
very much on the pace that we were expecting,
50 plus, right?
Yes,
so
there
I mean,
you
that's
go.
And looking more and more comfortable. I didn't see the final numbers. I'll look at them quickly, but Toews was very dominant in the circle again. Early on in the contest, I'll see if he continued that. But I mean, you're just seeing someone, and again, we should also talk about this quickly, Sean. I know it's not game related, but I listened to Elliott's interview with Jonathan Toews today, and yeah, there's Toews, 15 wins, 6 losses for 71%, 64% as a team today for the Jets. Scheifele 68, 64 for Morgan Barron, Toews 71. Velarde 67. Tough night for Nemestikov, only one for 1 out of 5. But man, it just impressive to see. And just quickly on Toews, there it is: 23 shifts, 1801, 1 shot on net, 2 block shots, another solid outing. And it sounded like there was a little bit of juggling again with so many penalties. I think in the second period was what I had gathered. But yeah, I mean it's going to happen. I'm going to have to defer to you on Brad Lambert. I mean, that's another topic. We know there's a competition for ice time there. Chibrikov, Lambert, and Ford, 3 young guys, basically, shuffling through one spot. Obviously, all the 3 of them play a different style of game, and obviously it's a different role when Parker Ford is there. Lambert was, started the game on the third line, if you will. Didn't finish there, I don't think, but again, I didn't watch enough. I'm going to have to defer to you on Lambert, but what did he have here? And I saw he had 1 shot, 2 shot attempts, 11 shifts, 743, and he was on for the goal again. So again, you're not expecting him to light the world on fire, but I mean, if you're only getting limited opportunities, you have to make an impact. And again, it's tough to make an impact in 8 minutes, but I mean, that competition is still very much on. And I would say right now, Parker Ford is leading the competition because he has a very, dedicated role, and he plays that role exceptionally well.
Well, here's what I would say that I saw that I think is good news for the Winnipeg Jets when it comes to Brad Lambert. I thought that he did a good job of doing his Mason Appleton tip of the spear act out there. So what we've seen from Mason Appleton as he's come in and played some games for the Jets, had an assist on his in his very first game, same as Chibrikov. What you saw from Chibrikov as well was a guy who's going out there and he's trying to score, doing all those kind of things, right? But what the Winnipeg Jets, and this is why it's hard for young players to crack a lineup now, right? Like when people say they want the young people to come in and do this kind of stuff, taxing style of play that the Winnipeg Jets have. You have to be cerebral. You have to be smart. Have to be able to read and react within a system. And it's why guys like Shen come in and fit in seamlessly. It's why the Jets keep going and getting guys like Pearson to come in and do that, because you want smart players that a coach can reach over, tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you're here. We wanted you to be right here. And this is why we want you to be here. And you tell that player that once and they get it, because they've done this so many times. So it's tough for young players to come in. And Chibrikov and Lambert, their instinct is to come in. And this is how it is on a lot of other teams. Show what got you here. Hey, when Kyle Connor broke in on the Winnipeg Jets in 2017, 2018, he didn't need to show that he was the most defensive player out there. Why? Because the Winnipeg Jets didn't play that style. Okay. Although they were a good defensive team at that time, they weren't suffocatingly defensive and so defensive oriented the way that they are now. So what I saw from Brad Lambert was a realization tonight that there's an expectation that he uses his speed, not just to get open and, create opportunities to score goals. He needs to do it to be a disruptor. And so I thought he took a step tonight in a direction I haven't seen him go as being a disruptor. Now, is he as complete a player as Parker Ford right now? I don't think he is, nor do I think he's ahead of a guy like Chibrikov either. But what I do see is a guy who's got NHL speed baked in, scoring acumen when it's needed. You're trying to grow him into being able to unlock those things, but you just don't get to be that without playing good defense on this Winnipeg Jets team, because the defense is predicated on everyone buying in. And when one person doesn't do it, it kind of falls apart, because it's all based on, I've got your back. It's like that movie 300. They all work because they all have the shields that actually protects the guy next to them, right? That's the Winnipeg Jets, and that's how they work. I see Brad Lambert as understanding, okay, it's more important where I put my shield right now to protect myself and my teammates and to defend than it is where I'm stabbing my spear in this war out here. So I thought that was a good nice. a good step forward for him. And I guess,
and it's important, right? It's important because, I mean,
well, it's the step that young players will have to take on this Jets team. That's what it will require to make the Jets going forward. That's what it will require to graduate. Dylan Sandberg did it. Logan Stanley was given a lot of rope to get there, but has started to get there. But that's what you're seeing from the young players who come into this lineup. It's what's expected of them. It's what earned Mason Appleton an opportunity over the last little while. I wanted to get into just the one big difference that I saw in this game here, because people are talking about, if I can bring up a comment here that I saw from earlier on, if I can grab it here. Nope, I may not have. Okay.
There's one start.
No, I've got a couple here. I don't have it here. It was basically a commentary about, sometimes I remember that Perfetti's not in the lineup, and Lowry and Sandberg, and I think it's scary how good this team is, where they could go. I honestly, Ken, I don't see any difference between this team and the start that they had last year, other than the fact that they got that first loss out of the way early, and so no one's talking
not that
about,
early.
like
8 games. Oh, sorry. This year you mean? Sorry, bud. Sorry. Yeah. Got you.
Last year was 8 games, and then they win another 7, and so on and so forth. And everyone's talking about, oh my goodness, this Winnipeg Jets team is, the Jets have basically had 2 stanky periods of hockey this season. It was their first 2, and then they've been on a roll. They've won almost not every period, but they've won a lot of periods since, and they've done nothing but win since that game. I still contend we're back to this. And someone had pointed out Mark Scheifele, he's gone to another level. I know that he's had a really good start. And yes, him and Kyle Connor are great. I still see the Winnipeg Jets as being a team that right now, and it's funny because, Ken, we saw them towards the end of last year where they locked down their system so strong that we actually see their system in action now, and we see little holes in it, and it almost stands out to us because, like, it's early season form. By the end of last year, it was so ironclad it was hard to poke holes in it. So when you do see holes in it, you're like, oh, they're not where they were last year, but they probably are at the same place they were at the beginning of the year last year. Here's the deal. A team like Calgary, they're just trying to figure it out. But I'll tell you this. This is why, like, I see one play that makes a massive difference in this game, and it's the game-winning goal, right? And everyone's going to be like, yeah, okay, bonehead, it's a 2-1 game. That's the difference. Good analysis there. It's how this breaks out, okay? If you see this, it's the Flames going, and they've got an opportunity on net, and they throw it to the net. And at first, I thought that it was Connor Hellebuyck pass up and out of the zone, and it's not. It's actually a rebound into the slot, into the meat of the slot, and it's not a great rebound. Who's right there to potentially get it? Nazem Kadri, okay? One of the best players on the other team, and it's not right in his wheelhouse. But what he can do is he can make a real strong effort to go get that puck. He makes a little bit of a reach for it, but he really doesn't throw himself at that puck in a way that I'm telling you right now. Every single Winnipeg Jet already at this point in the season is doing everything they can to get to that puck. Nazem Kadri, because it's not right on his stick for him to take a shot right away and maybe win the game, is okay with letting that one trickle by. And what happens? It trickles by, and the Jets, being the Jets, who are so good at turning defense into offense, pounce on it, and they're heading down the ice. Now, if you watch the play from that point on, Nazem Kadri actually has a far more direct line to the front of the net than Mark Scheifele does. He's given a head start in the race to the dangerous area on the other side of the ice. And if you watch this play unfold, go back, check it out. Renny knows what he's talking about. Nazem Kadri is not busting his butt back down to the other end of the ice. Nazem Kadri is okay with losing that race and letting Mark Scheifele get to the front of the net. And because of it, Mark Scheifele not only wins the race, he wins it easily, which means he doesn't have a guy trying to lift his stick or making life tough on him like every Winnipeg Jet would be fighting to do to get to that player and not let them have a free pass at that. He gets the perfect pass from Kyle Connor because he's uninterrupted and unbothered. He's able to process that pass, put it in the back of the net. Could he have fought a guy off and done it? The way he's playing right now, for certain he could have, but you'll never know. And one thing you do know is Nazem Kadri didn't want it anywhere near as bad as Mark Scheifele wanted it in that moment, or Kyle Connor. And I'll tell you this, when we talk about details, those are the details. The details there that if the roles were reversed and that was the Winnipeg Jets, that puck never would have got out of the slot. It never would have got out of the zone. It would have been sustained pressure. And because it's the Calgary Flames, because it's a different team, and because so many teams are nowhere near the level the Winnipeg Jets are at right now, they can't compete. They can't compete with what the Winnipeg Jets are doing because they're more structured, they're more committed, they're working hard, and they're dying to be the first person to the puck. Hey, Ken, it says up in the Winnipeg Jets room, there's certain motifs that they follow. Yep. One of them is win 50-50 battles. Maybe you consider that a 50-50 battle. Mark Scheifele wins that 85-15 in that case there, and that's why the Winnipeg Jets are walking away with the 2-1 win in this game.
Yeah, and yeah, man, that was not a good look for Naz there on that back check at all. I mean, he started with a lead in the race, and Mark just simply beat him to the spot. And also curious for your thoughts too. I mean, obviously I wasn't there, but I saw Mike McIntyre.
Just before you ask me this, I just want to say this. Keep in mind, folks, what we saw tonight from Nazem Kadri was a long-standing complaint by Winnipeg Jets fans about Mark Scheifele and his game, his back check, his compete on the way back until the Rick Bowness era arrived, and then things started to turn around. That should give you a sign of, you want to know like how Mark Scheifele has elevated his game. That's part of it right there, is you would never see him doing something like that. And because of that, you don't lose games because of Mark Scheifele. Now you just simply win games because of Mark Scheifele. That effort makes all the difference in the world. And it turns you from being the guy who wears the goat horns on some nights more often than others. And boy, oh boy, I've thought this, Ken. It happened a couple times last year. Has Nazem Kadri ever worn the goat horns against the Winnipeg Jets? Quite often in the last couple of years in this Calgary Flames Winnipeg Jets rivalry. Mark Scheifele rarely wears them anymore, and he's more often the guy who's leading the charge and putting the Jets over the top.
Yeah, and for the record, for folks who don't know, I mean, you and I were both on the ice for, after Nazem Kadri's biggest moment of his entire career, and we like the way that he handles himself, but that's not him. And we talk about culture, the Jets, and the way they play to their structure and everything else, but what you saw was a frustrated player, Sean, and it's tough. Now it's 6 losses in a row. Ryan Husk got an incredible quote today about how, if he could have, he would have scratched 50% of his lineup. Everyone was talking about Igor Sharangovich and the tough play the other night. I mean, he called his team out, and they responded with a better effort for the most part. But in a tie game, Nazem Kadri is one of the biggest leaders on that team, Sean. That's not going to look good in the video room tomorrow.
No, not at all. It will look good though in the Winnipeg Jets video room, especially with that goal by Mark Scheifele. And hey, you can score a great rate with Cambrian Credit Union. Getting a mortgage doesn't have to throw you off your game. While you focus on home sweet home, our friends at Team Cambrian Credit Union take care of the mortgage part with their low rates. Whether you're looking for a new home, renewing, or making the switch, Cambrian is your mortgage MVP. They can help make the next season of your mortgage path easier and help save you money. That's what we call a win-win. Head to cambrian.mb.ca/rates for more. Ken, the penalty kill. Like, my goodness. Paul Maurice used to talk about the Jets that one year when they got penalty after penalty after penalty, and he did a really good job of dressing it up to not just be an undisciplined team, and he called it part of their compete package, right, is what he used to say, for a team that took a lot of bad penalties here and there. The Winnipeg Jets, part of their compete package, they are working really hard in that system. They are on you. They are cramming the game down your throat. You are not going to do that without taking penalties. It is truly and honestly part of their compete package. What a luxury it is to be able to do that the way they do and really not have to worry almost at all this year about that coming back to bite them down a man.
Just wild. I mean, five for 5 today, and Sean Kelly Moore from CJOB had the stat the other night. It was 15 in a row after the home game. 18 in a row consecutive penalties killed after the start of the year, and 5 more today. So I mean, they were running at an incredibly high percentage. It was 94.4, I think, going into the game, and that number is only going to go up with another 5 for 5. So a couple things. We know last year they talked about being a little bit more aggressive with Dean Chenoweth, and we're seeing more of those reads coming at the same time. That means pressure points, attacking, and Scott O'Neill's talked about this a lot, Sean. It means not just one person pressuring, when he's either bobbling the puck or his back's to the defender or whatever else, but you're anticipating where the next play is going to go. And that's where the Jets have gotten so much better in closing on plays where you're not giving up that time and space and allowing the other team to be setting up a shooting gallery and keeping the high dangers to a minimum. But the other thing that's really improved, and we talked about this a lot last year, the clears are so much better. There were tons of times last year when to say the Jets struggled is an exaggeration. They still finished 13th in the NHL. So, but during the periods where they were giving up more power play goals than they would have liked on the penalty kill, they weren't getting clears. They would get so close to killing it off, and then in that last 10 or 15 seconds, they wouldn't get the puck out off the glass. So, they're doing a good job. And again, the fact that they're doing this without Dylan Sandberg and Adam Lowry, 2 of their best penalty killers, that says a lot about what the Jets have done on the personnel side right? The personnel side, Cole Koepke is in. Tanner Pearson's killing penalties. You've got other guys stepping up and playing more. Morgan Barron's the first guy over the boards a lot. Taves was taking more draws today because of the penalty kill and the success he was having. And I love the fact that they're using Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor more. That investment, Scott O'Neill has talked about the buy-in a ton for those two guys in terms of defensive play. Giving them a kick on the penalty kill, on the power kill, if you will, it just gives those guys another couple touches. And Sean, when the opponent makes a mistake, those guys can giddy up and go and attack on the penalty kill as well. Obviously, the first priority is to kill the penalty, but I love the investment with those two guys and specifically, and they've done an exceptional job. And again, people can say whatever they want. I think that we need to recognize also that Luke Schenn has to be part of that. What he does well, he's a good penalty killer. He can get clears. He keeps that front of the net clear. He's doing a nice job there. Josh Morrissey's been killing more penalties, Sean. Josh rewarded with an assist today. Neil Pionk gets on the board. Let's go to that after we're done here on the flip side. But, they've got a lot of guys stepping up. Pionk and DeMello doing a nice job. Logan Stanley's getting some reps here and there. And yeah, it's funny, right? I mean, we talk so much about special teams, and the year before, Rick Bowness said it so often that if the Jets just had an average power play, they would have won the division or won the President's Trophy. Well, when they had the best penalty or power play in the league, they won the President's Trophy. And now the penalty kill, it feels like there's a little internal competition is maybe an over-exaggeration, but they know that they can make an impact on the penalty kill, and they're doing it right now, and it's been impressive.
I'm going to go to the Flame and Comfort hot take of the show here. It was right out of the gate where SK said the crazy thing about the Jets PK is that it doesn't look like any particular tactic or strategy, but damn, he says, this could not be more wrong. The Winnipeg Jets, I think what they do, just like I talked the other day about Mark Scheifele riding that line between, should I pass, should I shoot? He seems to know when to do those two things. Sometimes teams, shooters just shoot, passers sometimes overpass. Scheifele has been an overpasser at times, but he seems to really ride that line, and I think it explains why he always has such a high shooting percentage. The thing that the Winnipeg Jets do really well is when the puck is on the outside, just before we get to that, Ken, when the puck is on the outside, if it's on the boards and the Flames have control, the Jets, then they collapse. Now, they send the first guy out to make sure that there's some pressure so that the Flames can't just do whatever they want. And they try and use that one guy. He'll pass it off to the next guy, pass it off to the next guy. And what they're trying to do is they're just trying to lead the puck around to the exterior and the outside, but the other guys collapse on the inside. Then when there's a little bit of a contested puck or a turnover on the boards, it's an all hands on deck, everyone fire drill, get to the puck, fight for it, and then get it out of the zone. It's aggressive in the right way. I thought sometimes last year the Winnipeg Jets power play got too aggressive at times and they got caught. I thought it got too passive at times. This time they're doing a good job of being, I would say, assertive when they don't have the puck, aggressive on the guts of the ice, not allowing anything, and then extremely aggressive when there's contested pucks on the boards. And that collapsing into the guts in the ice is the thing that I was talking about the other day when I'd said that what I see from Connor Hellebuyck is a goaltender who's able to move from post to post, because that's the only play that's there, because he doesn't need to worry about there being a player in front of the net and, having to tap one in between the legs or something like that. He can just shoot right across the crease. Listen, if there was a stick there all the time and he went and pushed from post to post and someone was redirecting one towards the net, to get from post to post, you got to open up a little bit. And that's how you get one in between the goalie's 5-hole. When's the last time? You tell me the last time you saw the Winnipeg Jets allow a pass from the sideboards or just below the net, right in front of the net for one of those redirect in between the goalie's pads. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You don't remember seeing him make those saves because he never has to make them. And one of the things that I picked up on tonight, Ken, that I was just kind of absolutely I couldn't believe how calm he was with it. But the other part that I've said is when Connor Hellebuyck knows that the puck is going from one side to the other and he doesn't have to worry about someone in front of the net, He had another one of those ones, Ken, where there's a pass across, and it's like if that pass gets through, it's in the back of the net. Except he steps out and he redirects it himself with his stick. He did it so calmly today, Ken. It was almost laughable. Like he looked bored. He just stepped up and he killed a play like nothing. He can do that because he doesn't have to worry that that puck is going to be contested between his goalie stick and a really good scoring stick in front of the net, because those players aren't allowed in there. So I got to say, SK suggesting that there's no particular tactic is way off. This is a highly structured Winnipeg Jets penalty kill. They're executing it. They're doing an unbelievable job. So SK very much earned. That's your K&R hot take, brought to you by Flame and Comfort, Manitoba's premier supplier of fireplaces, wood stoves, inserts, and everything hearth related. After 50 years heating up your world, Flame and Comfort has moved to 1465 St. James Street. Get down there, folks, where you will see it is one of the most impressive showrooms in Western Canada. You don't need your hot takes like SK to keep that warm feeling inside. You can visit Flame and Comfort. They'll take care of it for you. Hey, Ken, why don't you give Sweet Lou a shout out while you're at it?
Yeah, you bet. For folks who have realty needs you'd like to have met, contact our main man, Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU@LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of this community, including our podcast.
Ken, did you want to weigh in on Hellebuyck?
Yeah, just quickly, again, small sample size season is still very much in play here. But Hellebuyck, that was his 5th start, and it's interesting, right? So, start of the year, everyone's focusing on their own team and the team that they cover the most and everything else. So, people come in, they're like, "Oh man, well, what happened in game 1? Hellebuyck gave up 5," and I'm like, "Well, Hellebuyck actually could have given up 8 comfortably. He played well, and slowly but surely he's chipping away. You look up right now, Sean, Connor Hellebuyck is 4-1 with a 221 goals against average and 927 save percentage. So much like that take about Scheifele was going to have a reduction in points because there'd be a regression with his shooting percentage. Well, Hellebuyck clearly can't be close to 930. Well, why not? There's no evidence to say that he can't do that again. So again, very dialed in right now. We know that Eric Comrie will get to start one of the next 2 games, Sean, whether it will be against the Seattle Kraken. I would think it would, my guess is, last year they used him in most of the back end of back-to-back. So, we're probably going to see Comrie, I think, in the game against Calgary. But we'll see. I mean, obviously he's going to start one of the next 2. And, traditionally with the extra days off, you probably would think it's going to be Hellebuyck, but I mean, we'll see what happens. But Hellebuyck's been great. Is a short. I don't have to spend a lot of time on this. People who are watching the game know Connor Hellebuyck is dialed. 32 saves today. Very solid. 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. A lot of that has to do with Hellebuyck, and like you said, the structure around him. But Hellebuyck is making a lot of difficult saves look easy right now, and he looks to be really dialed in.
No, I thought he was brilliant tonight. The amount of posts that have got hit behind him so far this year compared to the amount of goals he's let in, he could really be making that argument that is all that he is leaving the opposition, because it's uncanny how many times the posts have been kissed by the opposition, but the twine, not so often. What's that, Ken?
Just quickly on, just don't want to lose, we went to goalies. Let's just talk quickly about the power play and the importance of the second unit. Man, Sean, the spacing, Taves getting that play started, Nino Niederreiter at the right point. We never see Niederreiter there. We talked so much about the importance of different looks from Davis Payne. We know that the first and second unit attack things a little bit differently, but I would say, Sean, that with Gus Nyquist and with Jonathan Taves, there's an influx of skill on that second unit. So they're still going to attack a little bit more quickly maybe than the first unit. But man, is that second unit doing a great job of producing and pushing the top unit. You need 2 units to go if you want to be leading the league in power play again. I love the play by Taves to get it to Niederreiter. Niederreiter finds Pionk at the top. Pionk, like we saw so often last year, quick attack from the top, more of a snapshot than a slapper. Taves gets to the front of the net after starting the play, gets there for the redirection. And they're, like I said, it's the 5th consecutive, after the first game against the Stars. Power play didn't look particularly good. They were, kind of in quicksand, weren't moving it quickly enough. But they've scored in every game since, all 5 games. So, and again, second unit, multiple goals already, doing a nice job. And Taves and Nyquist, and also Niederreiter, also showed stick taps to him. His game has elevated a lot in the last 4 games for me. And like I said, something as simple as getting 4 hits in that second game against LA. It was a heavy game. And Niederreiter was involved, even though he wasn't involved as much, offensively. The offense has really come from him since that time.
Yeah, Rain had T. Will asked if any other goaltender has won 3 straight Vezinas and 2 Harts, and actually that was achieved. Rain here said, no, where did he say it? Okay, Comet says Hasek is close to that achievement off memory. 2 Harts, 3 Vezinas. He had more than 3 Vezinas, but he also had 3 straight Vezinas through 97, 98, and 99, and 1 back-to-back Hart trophies in 97 and 98. So if Connor Hellebuyck were to pull that off, he would be matching the feat pulled off in the past by Dominik Hasek. I still think he would be 1 Vezina behind him, though. So when it comes to chasing hardware, when it comes to goaltenders, I do believe Dominik Hasek is the GOAT from the hardware perspective of everything, including a Stanley Cup, which he has said he's chasing. But no doubt about it, he has been absolutely everywhere in the Jets crease so far this season. Kind of like the folks at Myers. They're everywhere in this city. If you have any kind of pharmacy needs, health foods, they deliver everywhere in the city. Got it wrapped around the entire city like a big old headband. And I know that Glenn and Jonna over at Myers, they wait for the headband. I've made them wait too long. Time to make this a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny Show. All right, Kenny, time for us to get to the Johnston Group Got You Covered play of the game. What do you got? You can use the Jays game if you need to. Honestly,
George has Canada covered, but yeah. I'm going to go Hellebuyck here. Hellebuyck has the Jets covered. Not that they had a lot to cover up, but goalie's got to be the best penalty killer on a night they were 5 for 5. I'm just going to simply defer to Connor Hellebuyck on this one, but you may have a little more specific play in mind.
Well, I am specifically going to go with Connor Hellebuyck and that paddle breakup that he had, the pass across the crease. It's one of those moments where you can kind of see it with the Jonathan Toews goal, right? Like, this is a game that Calgary, I know they're only up by 1, but they're feeling good about themselves. They're handling the game well, right? And it just takes a couple plays here or there to turn a game like that. Doesn't feel like that as a Jets fan over the last. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that about the Jets fans out there. It shouldn't feel like that for Jets fans over the last couple of years, because it really hasn't been like that. The Jets aren't a team over the last year that is blowing leads and kind of falling apart in situations like that. But a 1-goal lead is by no means a strong lead. But I thought that Calgary was doing the kind of things to kind of pull that game off and win that game 1-0. And then all of a sudden, Jonathan Toews makes that play, turns it around, boom, it's in the back of the net. Same thing, that one play, you give an inch, Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor take a mile, it's in the back of the net. That's all they need. But that's one of those plays that puck gets through, boom, it's in the back of the net, and all of a sudden things change again for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuyck doing double duty on this night, because he gets usually the hashtag the keg save of the game, but he's going to get the Johnston Group Got You Covered play of the game here, having himself covered and having his teammates covered, no doubt. And hey, do you run a small business in Canada? You need to look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. Ken, what do you have for save of the game? Hashtag the keg save of the game.
Yeah, you had one that I'm going to defer to you on, but my save of the game would be this is kind of bone of contention for me. Like when people say you should shoot from everywhere because it creates a scoring chance. Well, Sean, in this game, the shooting from everywhere, the kind of wrist shot pass from the boards, that actually led to the Jets' goal. And it wasn't a hard save for Hellebuck, but the way that he kicked it out and got the rush going, I'm just going to go with that one because I didn't see enough of the other good ones to give a better answer. But again, in that situation, that's for the, you'd rather have a more dangerous play than just kind of wrister on net from just inside. You're not scoring from there. I understand you're trying to create a rebound, but it kind of gave the opposite effect in that situation for the Flames. But that's because it was a heads up play by Hellebuck.
Yeah. I'm going to give it to the pass across to Farabee. He makes a great save there. There was a redirect in tight, I believe, on an early power play in tight that he's got. This is a night where there was a whole bunch of them. I say it probably more than anybody out there, Connor Hellebuck, and I was actually thinking about it from this perspective today. I think if Connor Hellebuck is on a different team, we don't talk about him the way that we do. I think he would have been one of those goalies that early in his career had that, one man gang kind of, not attitude, but, reputation towards him. He's evolved into a goaltender that is just plays behind a system and plays behind an extremely structured system. So he went from kind of the Dominic Hasek goaltender from way back in the day to now the Marty Brodeur behind the super solid defense goaltender. There are two different styles of goaltender. The fact that he can play both those styles is amazing, but he benefits from the Winnipeg Jets. So there's a lot of nights I'll say, yeah, he's chairman of the board. This wasn't one of them. He was really, really important and crucial. And I do honestly say on a night like tonight, for me, he's the first star. The Winnipeg Jets don't win this game if Connor Hellebuck isn't playing the way that he's playing. And I thought that Joel Farabee save that he made on the pass across was the best of the best tonight. But by no means was there not a plethora, if you will, Ken, of other opportunities or picks to be had out there, which makes it more fun for you folks out there, because it doesn't matter what we think, matters what you think. Share with us your hashtag the keg save of the game. You're automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg, each location finer than the last. And the winner from our last show, that would be No Frills Dino. No Frills Dino, you know what to do. Direct message me, send me your email, send me your name, and I will have the fine folks at the keg send you a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg, each location finer than the last. Ken, anything to say before we get going?
I think small thing. I mean, obviously we've talked about the defense core a lot, playing without Samberg. We talked about how, Dylan DeMello and Logan Stanley had more points than Neil Pionk and Josh Morrissey. That doesn't matter. It's good on those other guys, but no concern because you like the way that Morrissey is really defending. I think obviously Neil Pionk getting involved offensively on the power play is important for him. And just quickly, Scott O'Neill gave the update, stick tap to Dave Minuk for providing the first look at Cole Perfetti joining the IR skate with Adam Lowry and Dylan Samberg back in Winnipeg. Scott O'Neill saying to Mike McIntyre that Cole Perfetti ahead of schedule. Lowry still tracking on that, end of October, early November, and still TBD for Dylan Samberg. But, some encouraging news on the Cole Perfetti front. And then just lastly, obviously, our friend Elliot Friedman shouted you out for that great interview with Mark Scheifele that I had a chance to watch it after a show last time. Excellent job by you. Also, excellent job by Elliot in his sit down with Jonathan Taves. Found it very, very insightful. For those of you who missed it live, you can catch it on the 32 Thoughts pod that just dropped this morning here. So excellent job there. I thought it was pretty good. What did you think of that one?
You know what? I actually haven't seen that one yet. Okay. It played in show during the broadcast. During the broadcast. I haven't got to that yet. I will make a point of, hey, you went and you checked out my work, so I'll return the favor and go check out Elliot's work. How's that sound?
It was excellent.
We'll be even.
You didn't see it, but it was excellent. So I can guarantee you that folks will enjoy it. It takes it through the journey, and again, we've heard Jonathan, talk openly about the recovery, and it's well done. So.
There was one question, I can't remember it, that I tuned into while I was doing some work in the background there. The way he asked the question, I mean, this is the one thing we've said, and we say it over and over again. Elliot is a really great teammate. We're lucky to have him. He's like, guy is so busy. He's got, like, I don't know, he must have 32 hours in his day, Ken, because he just keeps going and going and going. And yet whenever you call him up, he's always got time for you. But I mean, not lost in that. He's not just a hardworking guy. He's a really, really good journalist. He's a really, really good interviewer. He's really, really good at opening up players, in interview, and even more so behind the scenes, to get all the information that he gets. He's kind of like, what do they call him in like a 5-tool player? You know what I mean? In baseball,
sure.
he can kind of do it all. It's actually kind of funny. He told me this story one time. He didn't tell me who the general manager was, but it was when he was coming up and he was starting to get a real reputation. And he called up a GM and he asked him a question, and it was apparently a bit of a dumb question that he asked him. And the GM said, my scouting report suggested you were a first-round draft pick. You're asking questions like a fourth rounder or something like that, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Good to hear that kind of jawing behind the scenes. Anyways, good to hear you, Ken. So glad that you had a good time there. Kenny gave me, and I was jumping around in the house. Ken gave me a FaceTime call from the action there, which was so neat to see. Appreciate that, Ken. Always appreciate your friendship, and always happy to see you out there enjoying life, as I'm happy to see all you folks out there doing the same thing. Hopefully part of enjoying that life is enjoying some time spent with us here on KNR. And if you do, we would hope that you appreciate the contributions made by our sponsors who fight to keep the conversation going in this space for us. That's Jim Pattison Toyota on Region, Vittorio Rossi, Pristine Roofing, Cambrian Credit Union, Sweet Lou Ferlin, Flame and Comfort, Myers Pharmacy, The Keg, and of course the Kenny and Renny OGs at the Johnson Group. Thank you to them. Thank you to all of you. Let's reconvene, do this all over again on Thursday after the Jets play the surprisingly plucky Seattle Kraken, who've got out to a good start to the year. We'll talk to you after that. Bye-bye.